Hi guys, Patrick here with goldkilns.us. Well, the garage again this morning. Supposed to be a scorcher here in Arizona. It's supposed to be 112 degrees. Gotta love it. So I thought I'd take the opportunity here and show you the little Kwik Kiln II. Little Kwik Kiln II is a little updated version of the original Kwik Kiln. I changed the size of the combustion chamber. I did away with the spacer, and we got a little different size hole in the lid. Basically, same unit, just that the spacer was the weak link, and so I eliminated it. And if you want, I can get you the parts, a new lid in this upper piece, to where you can upgrade your existing Kwik Kiln to a Kwik Kiln II if you so desire, or we still provide the spacers. So anyhow, thought I'd also take the opportunity of giving you a couple of tips, little things that make this a lot easier. Today we've got some placer gold. This is Karen's placer gold, and she wanted it poured into a little round coin shape, so we got a new little coin shaped mold, and we'll use that today. I think there's a ½ ounce here. Anyway, the new Kwik Kiln II is easier to use. It's a little bigger inside, it's easier to get your crucible in and everything. So I'll show you basically the startup process with one. I like to take some bone ash and sprinkle it in the bottom of the kiln. Sprinkle it around and cover the bottom of the kiln with some bone ash. Now what the bone ash does is, if you have a little bit of flux that runs down the side of the crucible or whatever and gets into the bottom of the kiln, it'll start eating your kiln up, and that's not what we want. So if you put a little bone ash in the bottom there, what that bone ash will do is, if any of that flux gets down there, it'll absorb that flux and stop that flux from eating the bottom of your kiln up. And if it's already kind of ate up, you can actually put some of this bone ash in the bottom there and kind of fill those holes, and it'll stop it from eating it up any further. So that's kind of the first thing I like to do. Now this is a brand new crucible, and the lip on these is awful wide when you go to pour into a small mold. So what I do with them is I take a little round file and I'll put it in here like so, and I'll literally just file a little pouring spout, a little groove. And that little groove that goes back in there catches your metal and your flux and pours it out into a much thinner stream. And that's all you got to do. That just makes a whole heck of a lot of difference when you go to pour into a small mold. Tongs. When you get your tongs, they got kind of a funky angle to them, and what I do is I'll take my tong, I'll stick it in a vise, and then I'll take and heat this part up with a torch, and I'll bend it down to where you've got pretty much a 90-degree angle. And when you've got that 90-degree angle there, or whatever, then it's a whole heck of a lot easier to get a hold of your crucible and pour it, because your hand is flat rather than being at an angle. So another little tip. What else? I guess that's pretty much it so far as the tips. Bone ash in the bottom. File a little groove in your crucible. And, another thing, let me get rid of these. I like to lift my mold up in the air. Makes it a lot easier to pour when your mold's up here rather than down into something where you can hardly reach it. I happen to have a conical shaped graphite mold here that I just turn over and set it up on there like so. And when you pour into it, it's elevated, so it makes it a lot more convenient to pour into than if it was on a flat surface or down. You can use a fire brick or whatever. As long as it's fireproof and can take the heat, you're okay. So, having said that, we'll go ahead and we'll light our little kiln up. We'll put some gold in there in the crucible and we'll melt it, and then we'll pour it out and we'll see how we do. I always like to mix my gold with my flux, make sure it's mixed well. So we got black flux, we're doing gold, and I'm going to put I guess about a teaspoon of flux in this little jar. Now I know that's going to run over the side of the mold, but it really doesn't matter because all the metal ends up in the cavity. Take my gold. And put my placer gold in here. Get every little spick. Plastic bags. Hate plastic bags. Yeah, I think we got it all right. I'll get rid of that. And put the lid on it. Roll it around a little bit. Rolling it around like this mixes it better than anything. I'm gonna dump it into this little guy right here so I can pour it into my crucible. I'm pretty pouring stuff into a crucible, so I put a little pan under it or whatever. So if I spill any, I can catch it. Not too bad. Once again, like I say, you don't want to fill your crucible much over halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way, to allow for expansion when it heats, and we're a little less than halfway, so that's golden. That'll work all right. I'll get rid of this, and I'll get rid of our little plastic jar because they don't stand heat very well. And we'll go ahead and light up one of our torches. Put it in the kiln and turn the other one on. Another thing I do is I block my torch so it can't roll. You can use just about anything. A couple of quarters works pretty good. Turn this one on, get it burning. And we'll put our lid on. And we'll let our kiln warm up. You don't have to worry about getting too much bone ash in there, because if there's too much in there, it'll just kind of blow it out. And since this is the first time the kiln's been fired, since it's brand spanking new, I'm going to go ahead and let it warm up a little bit before I put my crucible in. Once these kilns get warmed up and everything is burning pretty good, you can actually turn these torches up to where they're almost wide open. Not saying you necessarily have to, but once the kiln gets warm, the combustion is much better on the inside. And I'm looking down in there and I see that my bone ash is glowing orange. Got a nice flame coming out of the top. Everything looks pretty good. So, everything looks good there. Take the lid off. I'm going to set my crucible in. And I'm going to align that little groove in the direction where I'm going to pour, so that when I reach in there and I grab my crucible, it's already pointing over that way. Stick the lid on. And then, like I said, I always preheat my mold. And I'm going to pour into this little cavity right here today. So I'm going to set that mold on there, if I can get a hold of it, where that portion of the mold is right over the flame. I guess I could turn that around, you can see it a little better. Just like so. Okay, so we're lit. Brand new kiln. Everything looks good in there. I'll go ahead and let it warm up. Once it gets melted, we'll set our mold over here and we'll pour a little puppy and see how we do it. Hang on, I'll get back to you. Hi guys, I'm back. Looks like everything's ready to go. I'll put a pair of gloves on here. You look down inside your crucible when you're melting. You first put your material in there, it's bubbling, and it all stills out after it's all melted, and the surface of your flux gets real still, no more bubbling, and your crucible turns yellow. That means it's time to pour. I'm going to set that little remote over there. I don't want to melt it. So the first thing we got to do is see if I can get my mold off of here and get it set up over here where I'm going to pour. That looks pretty good. Lift the tongue lid off. And we're going to cut the little crucible out of there. I'm going to come over here and we'll see how we do. Not too bad. Set that. And set the lid on the kiln. And we'll go ahead and shut everything down. Okay, I'll let it cool off. I'll knock the flux off it and we'll see how we did. Hang on. Hi guys, I'm back. Put on a pair of gloves here. Should be cooled off. That glass is sharp. So I'll move this little crucible over. Get rid of these tongs. Now when I poured that, you got flux that went all over the place. And you think, Jesus, did my gold go all over there? Well, no. Your gold's in that cavity. It's heavy enough to where when it goes in there, it displaces the flux. So when I turn this little puppy over, you can look and you can see your gold coin is still there. That little part and that little part and all that stuff right there is nothing more than just flux. Oh, we'll set it down here now. I don't hardly even have to tap it. There it is. Nice and pretty. So Since this is Karen's gold, I don't want to beat on that or pound that flux off of there, because I'll leave marks on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this little button, I'm going to drop it in some vinegar and leave it in there overnight, and that'll take care of all the flux that's on there. It'll dissolve it and it'll be nice and pretty and shiny. Kwik Kiln II, a lot of fun. Gives you something to do when it's too damn hot to be outside. Thanks for watching, guys.